Hey, I'm Susanna Lanier, actor and acting coach for over 25 years.
I'm Jess Greenberg, casting director for over 10 years.
We're here to help you navigate this crazy, creative, and sometimes chaotic journey into the film and television world.
We share our insights as to what works.
And invite some pretty spectacular guests to share more ideas to move you on your journey.
So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Tristan D. Lalla, who has shared the screen with Hollywood A-listers such as Charlize Theron, Seth Rogen, and Bruce Willis, just to name a few. He has voiced over 100 characters on video games, and he is currently holding recurring roles on 3 successful TV shows, Nurses, Ghosts, and Animal Control. Welcome, Tristan.
Morning.
Hello.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, amazing.
My pleasure.
Cool. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So you are a dancer, an actor, an artist. Is there one discipline that came to you first? Like, how did you know you were going to get into this field?
So I would definitely say I always knew I wanted to perform. I come from a family of artists and musicians, mostly musicians, most notably my grandfather, you know, the steel pan, the steel drum, the instrument.
Yeah.
My grandfather invented that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I come from that. I have a lot of cousins who are all musically inclined, who have their own respective, like, really illustrious careers and stuff. And I grew up either around them or watching them. And so I always knew I wanted to be something in that realm. I couldn't speak for a very long time. I had a really bad speech impediment when I was little. I used to stutter, and I wasn't very verbal. I didn't really speak properly until I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
And so I remember, long story very short, I remember going to see a play when I was like 5 or 6. And there was a guy on stage who looked like me, sounded like what I thought I might sound like or could sound like. And I said, I want to do that. And now I'm doing that. So,
Wow.
yeah, if you told that kid who couldn't speak that he would then go on to have a career voicing things, he probably wouldn't believe you. But here we are. Yeah.
Wow.
So did you know that in your heart, though? You saw that guy and you said, I want to be like him? Or did you
Yeah.
say, that's what I'm going to be like?
No, absolutely. I said I want to do what he's doing, and he was okay. I'm like, I want to do that better. But what he was doing was so inspiring to me because I actually saw myself in him,
Right.
and saw that, you know, it's that funny thing when you're little, they tell you, oh, you can do anything, you can be anything, we believe in you. And then when you get to a certain age and you start doing it, and then people push back and, who do you think you are? It's like, well, you told me I could do anything.
Right.
So I'm trying to do it now. So, you know, either get on board or get off. But yeah, I saw myself in him, and I kind of just full pursued it.
Wow.
And then what was it like? When was the switch from like nonverbal to like, how did that happen?
I literally have the day written down, the dates, the time, everything. But what happened was I was reading, my favorite book growing up was Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. And I stole a copy from school because we couldn't afford it. And I had it at home in the bathroom. I used to read in the bathroom and hear myself like echo. And it would make me feel kind of more calm, as if there's a group of people speaking together. I don't know what it is.
So you read out loud?
I read the whole book out loud, beginning to end, without stuttering. And I literally felt like the floodgates open of the dam of like, oh, now I could connect my mind to my mouth, to my heart, and all kind of come out one place.
Wow.
Clearly with intention. Yeah.
And how old were you?
I remember I was 9. I was 9. Yeah. I remember it like vividly of like seeing this is what's possible to.
And then it was so nonstop from then.
Then I couldn't shut up, and now people can't stop me. Now they wonder why I won't stop talking. But.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so cool. So, I mean, fast forward to today, like we mentioned in the intro, you are on 3 big series now airing on TV, which is like insane.
It's a lot.
So, I mean, you didn't just wake up and this happened. Like, you have been working at this for a long time. So,
absolutely.
Like, how
3 decades to be exact.
3 decades.
Wow.
Like I've been acting professionally since I was like, I want to say like, so professionally, first like real paycheck, I was like 19.
Yeah.
But I've been performing since I was 9 or 10. So
Okay.
literally 3 decades, because in a couple months I turned 40. So
Wow.
Oh my God,
yeah.
you look so young. Okay,
Well,
wow.
thank you. It's Fenty
Ah,
skin products. Thank you,
that's
Rihanna.
amazing. That's your side hustle. You're selling skin products. No. Cool.
But how did you get here? Tell us.
How did I get here? I think what you're asking is like the trajectory, the journey of where we are today, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Um
Because a lot of the time we talk about people leaving to Toronto, and to our knowledge, you've lived here the whole time.
yes.
And so we want to promote people who have built beautiful, successful careers here. And you've stayed here, you've diversified, you've done everything from theater to animation, gaming, on-screen TV, film, everything.
Yeah.
So like, tell us about your journey.
Okay, so energy is everything. I'll come back to that. I'll put a pin in that.
Oh, good.
So
Good. I like that.
after high school,
Yeah.
of which I was like involved with all the student council stuff and the variety show. I was on the basketball team, but I was also captain of the stepping team. So I would play, and then halftime would come. I'd put on my jersey with my girls and we'd go be like the cheerleaders, basically, the halftime show.
Yeah.
Come back on, put on my basketball jersey, ride the bench, because I was good. I wasn't the most athletic, but I always knew like I was more performing arts side than athletic side. But right after high school, I went to theater school. I went to Dawson College Professional Theater Program, 3 years. I had a good time. It wasn't great. It wasn't easy. But my time there was different from a lot of people. It was very challenging, extremely challenging. And it was weird going from like calling your teachers Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so to like first name basis.
Right.
At 17 years old, it's like that switch, especially like in like Caribbean families, like you never address an elder by their first name. So it's like, oh, hey, Bert.
Right.
Like, it's just weird. But Dawson kind of gave me my theatrical foundation of what is possible, the history of everything, what came before me, what's happening now. And because of all of that, and what it didn't show me of what I would like to do and what can be happening, I kind of got the wheels turning early of, oh, don't want to do that, never doing that. That's crazy. I'm not doing that. And so I started planting the seeds early of like in my first or second year of knowing what I do and don't want to pursue in terms of career. Sticking at it was always kind of something that I didn't see a lot of people do. When things got hard, and I'm not just talking theater school, I'm talking like life. Like
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people, when things get hard, people get tested, which is life, right? It is what it is. But a lot of people don't see it through and don't stick to it. But the ones that do, usually, not all the time even, but usually the ones that do see the other side, they see the results. And so I always tell myself, I'm doing this. My plan B is my plan A. My plan C is my plan A. Like, I don't think I can. I am. I know I am. And I'm just doing it. So I guess that's how we're here. That's how we got here, because knowing that everything is energy, everything is connected. If I just made sure I brought my life experience into my art, into my artistry, into my work, without having to, I could take my work seriously without taking myself too seriously. I learned that early on too, just from seeing friends and family members who are performers do that. So I'm grateful for their, attempts so that I could have mine.
But Tristan, I do have a question. Did you know you were good? Like in theater school? Because for somebody to be able to decide on their career when you're in year 2 or year 2, you said, of theater school, and say, I know what I'm going to do and I know what I'm not going to do. I mean, you must have had a confidence knowing that you were good and you were going to be able to do this if you had the mindset matched with your talent. Because let's face it, some people aren't. It's a tricky question. I want to say some people aren't that good, but there's some people. No, some people are good, but I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I go, but I think that person will always have a side job. Yeah, they're going to work hard and they're going to improve and they're going to get some gigs and they're going to enjoy it, but they're not going to probably have your career for a million different reasons. But I'm not sure it's just mindset. I think it's also talent. However, something you said was very interesting. When you were a kid, you were stuttering. You couldn't, string a sentence together clearly. And you were like, I'm going to be better than that guy on stage. So maybe it is all mindset. And you know what? You can blow me out of the water, and I hope you do, because I would love to be able to say it's mindset. Get working, you'll get where you need to get to, or no, you'll get where you believe you can get to.
Okay, so
Go
I'll
ahead.
hit you with this.
Hit me.
So even like, I think like from the outside, I'm a very judgmental person. I know that about myself.
Right.
Always have been. I kind of get that from my family, and
That's okay. Yeah.
And I guess we'll talk about that. I'll put another pin. I like to pin pins and things.
So that's good. Let's pin. Yeah.
I sew and stuff. So I'll put a pin in that. But how to say this? I want to say this properly. I don't think I'm good right now.
Okay.
I know that I tell stories.
Okay.
I know what my voice is. Like I'm grateful that I know what my voice is.
Okay.
And I know what my voice is, right? So I know how to use my instrument to speak my point of view and turn that into a character or turn that into part of a story, the nugget of a journey, whatever it is. But adjectives like good or great or moving, like I think that's from an outside perspective.
Okay.
I never think of myself or my work that way.
Right.
Because it doesn't really serve me personally.
Right.
I find people that do either kick themselves really hard or expect or reach, like they try to chase dragons that don't exist because they think, oh, I'm good or I'm bad or I'm this or I'm that. Like I'm Tristan and I do what I do.
Okay.
And if I need to change it, it's all just, there's no beginning or end of emotion, right? We just kind of jump into the middle of something, it's moving, and then we jump out. There's no beginning of a scene or end of a scene.
Okay.
Like an audition might happen where you have to come fully charged into the middle of what's happening, but nobody wakes up in real life and says, what's my objective right now? Why am I picking up this spoon to eat this cereal? What do I want from this bowl? Nobody cares.
Right.
It's just like, it's all just happening. And so I like to think of how do I add to that story of what's just happening? What's my piece in that puzzle?
Right.
And then when it's done, how do I keep moving? So do I think I'm good, or did I know I was good? I don't know, but I knew I could do what I can do.
Okay. So you were self-aware without putting like labels, is what you're saying. Like labeling, you're absolutely right. Labeling yourself as good, bad, whatever is not going to help serve anybody. Never mind you. It's not going to really serve anybody. But I do think something about being self-aware of where your voice can shine and leaning in on that, I do think is helpful.
Yeah.
So did your confidence though build and your voice get solidified more and more as you started to kind of get more work, or not even? It hasn't changed. Like you're always in a searching, how can I contribute to the story? How am I a real person living a real experience?
I think it definitely grew. It's definitely changed. Like I know when I'm asked to do something or audition for something, like I know what I can bring to any given project.
Right.
I also like sometimes I know like I might read for something and I'm like, oh, so and so is probably reading for it too. They're probably better suited for it, but I can do this and I'm going to, because it's not my job to then sabotage my own brain and compare, because we're all always reading for the same stuff. So
right, right.
Matter, but people get caught up with that too. But for me, I know my toolbox is really big right now of what I can bring to different projects and why I get asked to do certain things is really interesting sometimes, because some people only know me for one lane, and then when I get in that lane and they realize, oh, you can do this too. I'm like, well, yeah, why am I here? And they're like, oh, we thought you were doing this. I'm like, let me show you something. Right. and then sometimes you have to use that to kind of open the door.
So how did you develop this mindset? Because it's a mindset and it's original. We haven't heard it.
Yeah.
And you have, but in different ways from other people. But I will say this is a way larger conversation than probably this podcast will end up being.
Yeah.
But the mindset you're talking about, energy is everything.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
And for me, like that's how I live my life. That's how I try to live my life. I fail all the time because I'm human,
Yeah.
but every day is a chance to get it right. Every
Okay.
performance is a chance to get it perfect, knowing I never will.
Yeah.
But you know, what is a perfect performance? Who knows? It's not my job to feel it every night if I'm doing a play. It's my job to make sure you feel it as the
Yeah.
audience. So if I'm not feeling it, how do I get to the place where I'm portraying something so truthfully that you as the audience still get to go on the journey and lose yourself? And I get off stage and I'm like, oh, that was a crappy night.
Right.
But that's not my job to portray that and let you know that
Yeah.
I felt that. So it's knowing that I don't want to sound too like ooga booga, but like
We call it woo woo over here, but we
woo
love
woo,
it.
yeah. But like I'm that. I'm woo woo. People call me bro bruh and all this stuff. I'm all about that. I always have been because like I've been here before. Like I've lived like a different lives before. And like
Okay.
it sounds all like whatever, but it's true. And I don't have to believe it because I know it.
Right.
So yeah.
I wanted to go back to that you have stayed in Montreal, but you've gotten your foot in the door to other markets. So
For sure.
when did that happen? Or
So I've always lived in Montreal, and that's not to say that I'm not gonna move. There's been several times where the move to Toronto has almost happened, the move to somewhere else has almost happened, but for different reasons, be it whatever, financial, pandemic, like things kind of plans change,
yeah.
And lives. But yeah, I've always lived here, and there came a time maybe 15 years ago when I realized just because I live here doesn't mean I can't do everything across the globe.
Yeah.
Because your residence, your place where you get mail is one thing, but you can work anywhere because why not? And so early on, my first big thing I ever really did was in Toronto. It's this movie called How She Moved. I auditioned. It's kind of a crazy trajectory how that happened, but I guess I'll jump into it now.
Yeah, no, I
Tell
wanted
it.
to talk about it because I was telling Susanna that it was my favorite genre of movie. It was a genre at that time, like
Yeah,
dance movies,
yeah,
and they were like
yeah.
my favorite.
that whole like stomp the yard, step up two, all this like that whole like
Save the Last Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
But yeah,
That was great.
but yeah, that kind of like started it. It's true. Say Last Dance is great.
Yeah.
So okay, here's the real. Okay, I don't know if I told this ever before. Here's the
Oh,
story.
good. We got a first.
Exclusive. We have an
Yes.
exclusive.
Mervish,
Yeah.
in Toronto, was co-producing a world premiere production of The Lord of the Rings, a musical that was cast between Canada and the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cast of 80 people.
Wow.
A few friends and I from theater school, we slept outside of Place des Arts, and we were the first ones in line to audition for the cattle call. The news cameras came and all this stuff, and we woke up and we're all dirty and dressed like hobbits. Not dressed like hobbits. I had a plaid shirt on. To suggest I didn't have a shield and all that. Some people did. It was crazy. Anyway, I sang my face off, and they're like, "Cool, can you come back for the first round of callbacks?" I'm like, "Cool." Come back. They're like, "Cool, can you stay for the media call?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." News cameras are filming some of us. I'm like, "Sweet." They're like, "Hey, can you come back tomorrow for the last round of callbacks?" I'm like, "Absolutely." I'm like, "What time?" This was, let me give context. This was 2005, I think. So I didn't really, so I had a cell phone that flipped and you have to press 9 4 times to get a letter and all that. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't get emails on your phone, none of that. So they're like, "Cool, we'll call you to let you know your call time for tomorrow." I'm like, "Sweet." So I'm on the metro going home, excited. I get home, I like check my phone, no missed calls. Ask my family, anybody call? No. The house phone, no, because I gave both numbers. House phone. Who's a house phone? Jesus Christ. Nights passing, nobody called. Next morning I wake up, no calls. I'm like, did anybody call? Check the phone, check my phone. I'm like, you know what? I put back on the same gear. I went back down to where the auditions were, and I just showed up. And they're like, "Hey, you're right on time." I'm like, "Cool." And I'm sweating. It was crazy. I go in the room and sing my face off again. act my heart out, my little 18-year-old, 19-year-old, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, cool, great. Do you want to come to Toronto for the final round of callbacks with the creatives and everything? I'm like, absolutely. So a few weeks pass. I was currently doing, this is a long story, but it's worth it. I was doing a production here in Montreal with Shakespeare in the Park.
Yeah.
And I had to be back and forth to Toronto because there were 5 separate rounds of final callbacks.
Jesus.
And every single time I went on my own dime on the bus, there was choreography, there was swinging from ropes, there was fighting orcs, there was climbing ents and saving Middle Earth callbacks and acrobat callbacks and sing, and all of these. The final day, there was 17 people at a long ass table. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Shaking hands, learning to read the room, doing a bad job. I'm like, why am I trying to shake everybody's hand? Oh my God, I'm messing this up. I'm all clammy, sweaty. In the end, I was the 3rd choice to play Sam,
Mm-hmm.
2nd choice to play Gimli.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up for all kinds of Ents and Orcs and whatever, and Boromir. A week later, Stephanie Gorin, who was the casting director, calls
Yeah.
my agent and says, Tristan's great. We love him. He's good.
Yeah.
To use words. He's like, oh, he's really good.
Good. Yeah.
He's really good. We love him. This it's not gonna work this time. Thanks. So this is after like 3 months and like 8 or 9 full callbacks and all this stuff. 80 roles in this show, and I wasn't worthy of a swing, of a understudy, of a nothing. I'm like ensemble member, and I cried, and I was like, I was young, whatever, stupid.
Well, no,
The
like
next-
that's a lot.
Yeah, it was. I'm like, I love Lord of the Rings, I love the books, growing up and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I was fully immersed. I wanted it really bad, and I thought it was mine. I was like, you know
Destiny.
what, whatever. I showed them what I had to do. It's fine, whatever. And she calls, tells my agent it's not gonna work. I'm like, okay. I was gutted. I think 4 days later, she calls and says, there's this project that's landed on my desk. It's called Step. It's like this hip hop Canadian independent movie. I think Tristan would be perfect for it. And she only knew that from my 14 auditions I had with her before.
Yeah.
Because every time I
Wow.
showed up, I was ready. I did my thing. She knew I could dance. She knew I could sing. She knew who I was. She knew I can like turn it on and off and do all types of different characters. But she knew who I was, and she learned like the essence of me. So when this project came on her desk and she called and said, okay, I think this is for him. I auditioned, and this is what, 2005 or 6 still by this point. I sent a self-tape on a VHS
Yep. I remember those
that I
days.
filmed in my garage, and I booked it with no
Amazing.
callback.
No callback.
Because I couldn't even make the callbacks because I was doing a play here in Montreal,
Yeah.
and the VHS audition was what booked me the role. Because I did like a dance routine on the VHS as well and sent it for the choreographer, who I couldn't meet in person because I couldn't leave the city at the time. And they're like, yeah, cool, it's his. And
Wow.
January came or whatever, and I was on a train to Toronto, and Step turned into How She Moved, which then went to Sundance Film Festival, got bought by Paramount Vantage and BET. And at the time, it was the highest sold Canadian project and all this stuff. And our choreographer was Hi-Hat. It was Missy Elliott's choreographer, and all these great people and friendships like were born of that movie. And like we all still talk to this day. We all go to each other's like life events, and it's
Wow.
to see everybody's trajectory has been wild. But it all started from this little movie that was like, oh, this independent thing that then turned into like this big thing and a big deal that none of us realized it could. But that's literally from sleeping outside on the sidewalk, being told, okay, show up for your callback, we'll call you. No call. So the lesson for me and all of that was like, yo, just show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show up, be ready. Because they're like, oh, you're right on time. I'm like, bullshit, I'm right on time. You didn't call me. But somebody called me, and like somebody told me, yo, get up, just go.
Yeah, just go.
I was called, but not by them.
It is. Yeah.
Wow. And that is your book the room story, because here you were like giving your heart to this other project, not thinking about anything else. Like you were gunning for this one, and you just were doing your best. Like you say, you singing your heart out, acting your heart out. And the casting director saw that and saw you like persistent and professional and talented. And that's crazy. And that's how you got that role.
And I can trace almost every single thing that's happened since then. Wow. I can literally trace every single gig I've booked, either by that gig led to another gig, or led to an audition, or led to somebody seeing that, or led to something. But everything comes from that movie. And that movie comes from sleeping on the sidewalk and nobody calling me for my callback.
Absolutely.
So if I didn't just get up and go on that Sunday to the callback, I might not have the career I have today.
It's true, because that's the callback that got you to the Toronto callback, which is what Stephanie saw you in.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Wild.
Yeah.
Well, she saw me every step of the way, because she was in the room every single.
Oh, she was in Montreal too.
She was in Montreal. Yeah.
Okay.
She was the first one to greet me at the door, said hi. And the years later, every time I see her, like, she always remembers, like, when we were kids and we did that little movie, and I was like, wow. And she always like believed. But yeah, I could trace everything back to that one day.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a great story.
That. Yeah.
It's true, because if you think of it, if you did the self-tape, let's say you never did that callback and you did the self-tape, they would have seen it. They would have said, okay, maybe giving you a callback, but you would have been in a play and say, no, I can't. And they would have been like, okay, next. Next. But because she saw you like blood, sweat, and tears back and forth from Toronto on your own dime, and how much, and she could say, this guy is dedicated. He can't come for this callback, but I can promise you this kid is for real. Like, he's not fooling around, because she saw what you did and your ability. So yeah, completely amazing. Very good
show up, be ready and show up.
Yeah. And you're right. It was a long story, but worth it. So worth it.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the video game world. So you have done over 100 video games.
I have.
That's kind of a lot.
It is.
That's kind of a lot. How did you get into that? What was the trajectory to get into that?
Yeah. 2006, I auditioned for this thing, and this thing was the secret thing. Nobody told us what it was. And then they're like, cool. So this is they call it's a computer game. I'm like, oh, it's a computer game. All right. Computer game. And then like we went into the place and we did the thing. And then they're like, oh, actually it's this. We're like, oh, okay. It's like a video game. All right. And that led to being called in for other voices by the same company, which led to when you're part of the family, so to speak, of certain big companies, and they like what you do, and you can deliver very different things across the spectrum of voices, they kind of keep you on board.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's lead roles. Sometimes it's, can you play these 20 roles that just fill the worlds of this game? But I find it very, what is the actual word? Whatever. I love it.
Fulfilling.
I love, very fulfilling, but also I get to play like no other in the studio. I like to take my shoes off. I've gotten to a place, especially when I'm doing like big like barks and ono sessions where I'm like really, yelling for hours. I can actually sit for 4 hours and do that instead of standing, because I know how to place my voice and my diaphragm and everything like in a different place where I'm not straining and all that. So yelling comes easy to me because I'm not allowed to yell at home, so I can yell in the studio.
Right.
But I know how to do those things really well. So I get called in a lot to do a lot of like, grenade, go, get down, like type of stuff, but also like, different dialects and accents, which I love because again, linguistics and all that. So yeah.
We were just talking with Simon Peacock actually about, is it Assassin's Creed that literally created their own language and dialect? Yeah. And you had quite a role on that one. Yeah. That's so cool.
I've done 13 Assassin's Creed games, 3 of which I play lead characters in.
Incredible. And that's the other thing that's so important too, is that you beyond your good performance, you like to have fun and you're nice to work with. So like we were talking about with Simon, like that's actually key in the video game world, because if you're not fun to work with, They won't
Absolutely.
keep calling you back. So I think that also
Nobody wants to work with
volumes to their
somebody.
character.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Nobody wants to work with somebody who's like really like nitpicky and like just takes themselves too seriously, or is like
Yeah.
really like judgmental or self-editing. And it's like you kind of have to have this sense of rawness and vulnerability to let go and make mistakes and mess up and just play.
Yeah.
Because you could be asked to shoot grenades, or one thing Simon specifically asked me to do one time, like a jerk. He's like, okay, so you're falling out of a plane, you hit the floor, then you roll into a lake and you get electrocuted for 30 seconds. I said, what? So imagine what that sounds, just the sound of that like journey. And then he was like, oh yeah, I'm just messing with you. And he kept the file to play back for me. I'm like, it's like, it's like sounds like
Oh, that's funny.
but
Oh my
you
God.
have to play and just like abandon any sense of am I good? Am I not? Does this make sense? It's not gonna make sense. But when
Yeah.
you're playing the game and you hear you know, it makes sense in context.
Yeah.
So the sound of running sounds like something else out of context. If you don't see someone running,
Yeah. It's weird.
Your
what it
imagination
sounds-
could go anywhere.
yeah. But yeah, I won't do the sound, but
I know where you're going with this.
okay, yeah.
Heavy breathing. Heavy breathing.
Heavy breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a gamer?
I am a gamer.
Yes. Has that helped?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you
Simon
want
said the
to, if
same
you want to
thing.
work in games, you better play games. If you want to work in theater, you better see theater. If
Yeah.
you want to sing on Broadway, you got to go see Broadway. So like,
Right.
you have to
Yeah.
know the worlds that you are trying to contribute to. Because
Yeah.
if not, you're not going to contribute adequately to it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
And I have one more question before we like wrap it up.
Yeah.
Talking about like human behavior. Sorry, I have a cold. Talking about human behavior and working with some pretty big celebrities. Is there anything that you noticed from them in terms of their personality, demeanor, talent that you're like, yeah, of course, like this is why they're here, sort of thing? Has anything stuck out or not? I'm just curious.
I think so. Like across the board, no. Again, the generalization of it, maybe not. But in terms of specifics with each, yeah. Like sorry, I'm gonna name drop. I apologize.
Yeah.
You know, working with people like Charlize Theron
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Seth Rogen or
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix, those three in particular, like there's a sense of play that they all come with, and a sense of abandon of like they just kind of dive in, and they don't edit until later.
Right.
But they also keep to themselves a lot, which I found really interesting. And not in a standoffish way, just in a like a
No, they're in the zone.
not even
Oh.
they're shy people.
Right.
You know, you never think like these people that are, you know, mega stars, whatever, are like shy people, but they're shy people. And
Yeah.
there's something very humbling about. I remember this one time when we were shooting Long Shot with Charlize and Seth. There was a full day of most of the scenes were just Charlize and I. I
Right.
play like her Secret Service bodyguard in the White House, for those who haven't seen it. And so we're doing the scene, a small scene, and she had this joke to land and she wasn't hitting it a couple takes. And then Jonathan, our director, calls cut. And we're just sitting and me and her going over the lines. And she's like, Tristan, was that funny? And I looked at her, I was like, why are you asking? You have an Oscar. What are you asking me?
Yeah.
I was just like, but it made it really clear that, you know, she's a person. She's an actor.
Right.
She's an artist, just like me.
Yeah.
And we all have these moments of, what am I doing? Is that good? Is that
Mhm.
whatever? But and it kind of opened up, oh, I can play now for me. Because I realized I'm not acting with someone up here. I'm like, this is my colleague and we're doing a scene.
And we're trying to make the story work.
We're just trying to make the story work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to make the story work. That's all we're doing. Yeah.
And it was a really small but like memorable moment for me of like, we're all just people. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good reminder.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
Amazing.
have another quick question.
Sure.
So, acting as a business, Like, so you have two agents now. Talk to us a little bit about strategy.
Sure. So I have an agent in Montreal and I have an agent in Toronto, and beyond.
Yeah.
So as a strategy, at one point I wasn't sure whether I was going to stay here.
Right.
And so the idea was make sure the other cities and other markets know that I'm out there. They know what I'm about. They see my stuff. And before I get there, to already have the foundation kind of solid.
Yeah.
And so that was put in motion. And then the move, or the idea of the move to Toronto at that time, didn't quite come through.
Yeah.
But the foundation was still set. So I was like, all right, so this is set. So do we still want to? I'm like, absolutely. So let's make sure all markets are like firing.
Cool.
So yeah, everything in Toronto is handled by Toronto. Everything in Montreal is handled by Montreal.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world is kind of a conversation. When I get to work in Vancouver, it's yeah, I've gotten to spend some time in Vancouver doing animal control. It's a really interesting thing to get to travel and work across the country,
Yeah.
because every city has its own energy, but everybody thinks the grass is greener. Every
Right.
time I'm in Toronto working on stuff, people are like, man, I really want to move to Montreal. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, cost of living. I'm like, yes, rent is a little bit cheaper, of course.
Yeah.
There are bagels, okay. But why? Like they don't take into account anything else, because they don't know about what it's like to live here, grow up here, potholes, linguistics, language laws,
Yeah.
all this stuff. But then we think of Toronto like, oh, Toronto is this, Toronto is this. A lot. There's always a Montreal Toronto argument. But when I hear Toronto actors now, so much these days, friends and colleagues talk about, oh, you guys have it so much better in Montreal. I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys have
Right.
all the big series shooting out there. You have all the funding. You have all the award shows. You have the night,
Yeah.
like you have like a bigger market in many ways, because you guys think you're a small American city.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of them think Montreal is where it's on and popping. So I'm like, everybody just needs to like water the grass you're living on,
Yeah.
and realize that you don't have to, just because you're living here doesn't mean you can't also spend time on that patch of grass too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a weird conversation that really needs to happen across the country of like, the grass is not greener. The grass is. And would you like to share some grass this week?
Yeah.
Because that's about it. But it's not
Cool.
greener. Everybody has some crabgrass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So we are going to wrap it up now, but we want to know what is in the works for Tristan. Dreams, goals, or stuff that's actually happening.
What I can say, project-wise, I have a few things coming out
Nice.
this year. A few things have already come out recently. Beau is Afraid with Joaquin Phoenix by Ari
Yeah.
Aster recently is out. Animal Control just had our season finale
Wow.
on Fox. Ghosts on CBS
Amazing.
just wrapped up second season. Pretty Hard Cases on CBC
Wow.
just wrapped its last season. Coming up, there's animated film that I'm
Mhm.
in. I don't even know if I can say the title. It's about an animal that turns into another animal. Maybe
Okay.
it starts as a caterpillar and it turns into a
Butterfly.
right. So it's an animated film about those,
Okay.
in which I play one of the villains. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really. It's been a couple years in the coming, and it's a big one. So it's that's going to be a lot of fun for the kids and for everybody.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I play a bird and a butterfly.
Nice.
There is a project in the works that is my project.
Oh, nice. That's what I wanted to
Um,
know. Yeah.
that I have planted seeds for a long time.
Mhm.
That some of the seeds died, and some of the seeds I thought were not being watered, but little did I know they definitely were, and
Amazing.
recently have started to blossom. So
Cool.
when the time is right, look out for that.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
can't talk too much about it, but you have your
No.
own personal project that is
Yeah.
is still, you are manifesting it. It's just taken its course.
No, it's like it's in motion.
Oh, it's happening.
Amazing.
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
Talk about it
Yeah.
yet. Cool. So we'll look
Uh,
for that. Amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And
Could you tell us like the TV, film?
TV?
TV. Okay.
And are you the writer or creator /
I'm the
can you tell us
creator.
Okay.
And
Yeah, can you
it's
tell us
about
your
it's
role?
about sharing knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're the creator
Um,
about sharing knowledge, and it's a Tristan D. Lalla production.
Is it like the because I rewatched The Summit, what was on your
All right.
which I liked. It was really entertaining.
Cool.
Is it in the same vein as that?
It's in the same vein as that.
Okay. Cool. All right. All right. I like
Okay.
it. I like it.
Okay.
Nice. Amazing.
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of great stuff that's in the work. I'm working on 4 video games right now.
Amazing.
None of which I can name, of course.
I know that we don't
for
even
another
bother
10
anymore.
years.
Yeah,
Well,
in
that's
18 years you'll come plug that.
But I'm not ignorant to the fact that I'm really fortunate to be working even.
Yes.
And not just working, like I find everything I've been able to work on recently is like something of quality and something that helps actually like, put food on the table. So I'm really grateful to just have that type of work going because the momentum's doing its own thing now, right? Like you work, you do the thing, and then it's like momentum's like, oh yeah, okay, life, let's go. And then life catches up to where you already, see. So I think we're there now.
Amazing.
But hopes and dreams and goals, $2 million, I don't know. Those lotto numbers can hit tonight. That'd be great. I would actually love to be on some like dramatic stuff on TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love a series regular on a drama series produced by Shonda Rhimes.
Okay.
Let's be really specific.
There. Yeah. Be specific.
No, I mean, I've been saying I want to cast a comedy series that goes on for many, 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 many seasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
And put together the whole ensemble. That's what I would love to do.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Do you watch P-Valley? You seen P-Valley?
I've seen it.
You should watch watch all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second season. Oh my God. I want to be on P-Valley. Katori Hall, who wrote and created that show, I did a play of hers, The Mountaintop.
Okay.
She just right now for me, she's the one right now. Her, Issa Rae, Shonda Rhimes, like they're killing it.
Yeah.
But P-Valley, I want to be on P-Valley. I would.
Okay.
Let me say that.
Okay.
3rd season just started, but they're on strike because of the writer's strike.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a manifest a role on P-Valley. Yeah,
oh, cool. Is that where's that shot? It's shot in Toronto? No.
It's shot in Mississippi.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, you're going for you're no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I get it. No. Okay.
There's no parameters on this.
There's no borders.
Dreaming stuff. No.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's
cool. Yeah.
So thank you so much
for
sharing all those nuggets because it's amazing. And we can't wait to continue watching you on TV and hearing you on video games.
My pleasure. And thank you for having me. And I surprised myself with some of my answers. So I can't wait to watch this back. But no, thank you so much.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Tristan. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So for today's takeaways, 1, stay the course. When things get hard, see it through. 2, don't do it if you don't love it. 3, water the grass that you live on. It's not always greener on the other side. And 4, keep your sense of play. Editing is done in post. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
If you're enjoying this podcast, we would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to support us.
Leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. You can share this podcast with your friends and colleagues and follow us on social media @Book the Room Podcast.
We put out episodes weekly, so subscribe to the shows to